Welcome to our dealership. I know the one I'm in isn't the one you're sitting in, but as one of the tens of thousands of employees in dealerships across America, you're a member of the family of dealerships, so welcome. A first-class picture doesn't happen by accident, no matter how much it may appear that way. The same is true of a first-class working environment in a dealership. It requires a combination of well-defined policies, management support, and enforcement of those policies, and employee awareness, understanding, and adherence to them. Those policies form principles of conduct that are based on the Code of Ethics of the National Automobile Dealers Association and this dealership's best business practices. By the way, the Code of Ethics can be found in your study guide. During this program, we're going to look at a few of the principles of conduct that are important to the success of this dealership's working environment. We want to consider how you might play a role in their implementation here. But before we do that, we want to lay some ground rules. First, nothing in this program is intended as legal advice. Second, this program doesn't cover every principle of conduct and every situation you might encounter during your employment here. The situations we do recreate should be used in determining how to deal with matters on a similar subject. There may be more than one way to handle any situation, including the ones we're going to show you in this program. If you're not certain about how you should conduct yourself in any situation, ask your supervisor. And finally, if you use good judgment, treat people with common decency, and act with common sense, you've taken the right steps in adhering to the principles of conduct. One of the reasons the principles of conduct are important is that they apply to all employees and across all departments, and that helps bring consistency to a dealership. And we rely on that consistency. It builds trust in each other, and it builds customer confidence in our dealership. Consistency assures professional treatment for every customer, every time they come into the store, by every employee. It should just be a routine part of the daily business process.
Hey. Mr. Carlson, this is our F&I manager, Steve Willis. Steve, this is Mr. Carlson. As we mentioned earlier when I introduced you to Steve, he'll go over the paperwork required to finalize your purchase, and he'll present some options we offer and help you with your financing for your car.
Thank you very much. Hi, Mr. Carlson. How are you?
The professionalism that led Mr. Carlson to purchase a car from Mike and the dealership is the same professionalism he'll get from Steve in F&I. Steve will make a thorough presentation of products and services. He'll make sure the consumer is informed of important F&I information. For instance, that the annual percentage rate for the installment sale of an automobile may be negotiated, or that the dealership may receive some portion of the finance charge or receive other compensation for providing the financing. Steve will work hard to get Mr. Carlson a good interest rate. And most important, he'll do the same professional presentation for every customer, every time. Consistency. It's what assures every customer of the best service, and it helps protect the dealership from lawsuits, such as ones that might be based on discrimination. Consistency across departments brings another almost indiscernible but crucial component to the success of a dealership. It creates a comfort level for doing business. It's necessary between employees of the departments when they refer customers to each other. And it makes the customer comfortable moving between departments with his or her business.
The hesitating isn't bad, like there's some sort of real problem. It just does it every once in a while, and it's more of an irritant than anything else.
I can imagine, but it may be a sign of a larger problem.
Yeah, I know. And the check engine light is on, too. I have a neighbor who knows something about cars. He's the one who said that it's probably the fuel filter and suggested that I pick one up. He does some of his own maintenance.
Well, he may be right about the fuel filter, but the hesitation could be signs of several problems. If you haven't done your maintenance in a while, maybe it's time to do it.
Well, maybe. And I don't want to take any chances with that check engine light on.
Can I suggest this before you buy a filter you don't need? I'll check with a service advisor, and I'll see if there's a chance we can get you in for a service appointment today. They'll do some diagnosis, and we'll get to the bottom of what's causing the hesitation.
I guess that makes sense.
All right, Mr. Waters, let me just get some information from you and we'll get your car right in. Thanks, Dan. I'll check in with you after a bit.
Okay. Thanks for your help.
No problem. See you later.
I'm glad you could get me in today.
Me too. Let's take a look and see what's going on with your vehicle.
The transition was seamless because the principles of conduct were applied to the way Gary was treated in parts and service. Consistency, good sense put into good business practice. A good policy for a successful dealership. You may have noticed that the two examples we've shown have something in common. They both involve customers. Consistency is at the heart of customer service. And as someone correctly put it, for today's new car dealership, customer service is no longer an option, it's standard equipment. It's what keeps customers coming back. How important is that? Well, according to one research analysis, it costs 5 times as much to gain a new customer as it does to keep an existing one. And that isn't always easy.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my car.
Oh, hello, Mr. Upton.
That's not a good sound.
I'm sorry, I'm just surprised. Mr. Upton, did you get my message?
Message? No, I didn't get a message from you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I left a message on your voicemail at your office earlier this afternoon. I'm afraid your car's not ready.
Oh, no. I don't understand.
The service required a special part.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
Well, it was supposed to come in, as I told you this morning, and it didn't. As soon as I was told, I tried to reach you to let you know that we were going to need to keep the car for another day.
At my office. I've been out on a business appointment all afternoon, and Bob dropped me directly off from that. It's been so hectic today, I haven't had a chance to check my messages. All right. Well, what am I going to do?
Well, first I checked and made sure that the part was going to be here tomorrow.
Well, good, because I need my car tomorrow, and not to mention that my ride's gone.
You know, we have an arrangement with a rental company that has discount rates. How about if I see if you can rent a car from them until your car's ready? Will that help?
Sure, that'd be great. Can you do that?
Not I can. The policy here is that I should. Let me have a car pulled around for you while we do a little paperwork.
Great, just show me where to sign.
Okay, let me find it.
Customer service isn't some abstract idea about being a nice person. This dealership has developed specific policies to help every employee know what customer service is and to ensure that we're all acting consistently in our treatment of our customers. Respect for diversity is a matter of both policy and law. An internet search for a definition of diversity provides a complex assortment of definitions. What is clear is that respect for diversity is more than not discriminating. Discrimination against people based on their race, ethnicity, color, gender, religion, marital or parental status, national origin, age, disability, income, veteran status, and other characteristics that may help define them is against the law and has no place in this dealership. And it's bad business. In today's competitive environment, the dealership must count on a diverse customer and employee base to succeed. For instance, people usually considered minorities are actually the majority of the population in 6 of the 8 largest cities in this country. And minorities make up nearly half the country's total population. Over 50% of the people in this country are women, and they are the primary investors in the majority of households. Also, the median age of the population is increasing, and the number of people 65 and older will more than double in the future. One of the most productive ways to serve a diverse customer base is a diverse workforce. An inclusive staff helps a dealership understand and serve its diverse marketplace. Respect for diversity should extend to everyone, both outside and inside our dealership. It's a proposition we take very seriously.
Hey, Rich, why don't you let me take this guy? I think I can relate to him better than you can.
What makes you think that?
Well, he's a businessman. He doesn't want car buying advice from his grandfather, you know.
Rich, why don't you take that customer over there? Denny, could I see you in my office for a minute, please?
Yeah, sure. So what's up?
What's up? Harassment.
Wait a minute. I have never said anything questionable to any woman here. Who said I did?
That's not the issue. But what you're doing to Rich is just as serious.
I'm not following you. What am I doing to Rich?
You're being disrespectful about his age. And that's harassment. And it has no place here.
Listen, I didn't mean to offend him. I mean, anyway, it's for his own good. The guy who walked in here might be a serious car buyer. He needed someone to relate to as a young professional. Huh? Anyway, we can't pass up an opportunity like this on an old guy like Rich.
Let me ask you something, Denny. How many sales have you made this month?
You know that. 9, I'm hot.
Hot. Rich has 14.
Didn't know he had that many.
Well, he does. Do you still think he's too old to get the job done?
Maybe not. Okay. No, I guess not.
In fact, I think you could learn a few things from him.
Yeah, maybe you're right. If you're still talking to me.
Well, you might try opening up the conversation with an apology. Rich is a pretty easygoing guy, and I think he'll accept it. And then you could ask him for a few pointers. Nothing wrong with learning a few things, huh? Who knows? Maybe you can close a few more deals before the month's out.
Okay. Okay.
A diverse workforce not only helps a dealership stay competitive in today's marketplace, it can be a learning opportunity for everyone on the staff. And it helps assure the kind of consistent respect for diversity every one of us should have for both our customers and our fellow employees. It's good for Denny that he understood what his supervisor had to say about his conduct toward Rich. Rich had every right to report Denny for harassment. The rules are pretty strict on that. No employee may physically, psychologically, or verbally harass another employee. Denny's needling put him in a dangerous situation. All of us in this dealership are expected to conduct ourselves as professionals in an atmosphere of mutual respect. Perhaps the most commonly acknowledged form of workplace harassment is sexual harassment. It includes, but is not limited to, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical conduct of the same nature. It occurs when submission to or rejection of unwanted sexual conduct is used as the basis for employment decisions, or when unwelcome sexual conduct creates an intimidating, offensive, or hostile working environment. The broad scope of the definition isn't an accident. It's intended to protect you from even the most unintended harassment situations.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Paul.
I was just going to send you an email that's going to crack you up, but please don't open it in front of Kathy. Geez, some people around here are so uptight.
Yeah, Paul, about your emails.
Not you, too.
Yeah, I guess me too. Listen, some of your jokes are very funny,
I know.
but they're just not appropriate between fellow employees. Work's not a good place to make people feel uncomfortable about what they're seeing or reading.
You make it sound like I'm sending emails filled with dirty words and vulgar pictures.
Paul, you're missing the point. They don't have to be dirty to make us feel uncomfortable.
What are you saying, Jackie?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that there's a level of appropriateness that we as employees have to adhere to. That joke might be okay for someone you know someplace else, but not here at work. It's just not the right time and place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Look, that kind of stuff makes you feel uncomfortable, I won't send it to you, okay?
Okay, thanks. Oh, and just for the record, if that joke that's on your computer now is the one you were going to send, that would make me feel uncomfortable even if we didn't work together.
Got it.
Simple enough. There are times when sexual harassment can just be the result of a misunderstanding. What seems innocent good fun to one person can be offensive, even harassment, to another. A good first step in resolving this kind of misunderstanding can be to bring it out into the open and discuss it. But sometimes the harassment is more serious or deliberate, and discussion is not enough. Then it's time to involve your supervisor. Don't hesitate. If you believe that you have been the object of harassment of any kind, or if you've observed harassment of any kind, immediately report it to your supervisor or the person or persons specified by the dealership policies. If you, in good faith, report what you believe to be harassment or cooperate in any investigation, you will not be retaliated against. If you believe that you have been a victim of retaliation for reporting harassment, you should immediately report the retaliatory acts to senior management. Oh, and if you're the one who's been approached about possible harassment on your part, listen to your coworker and take the concern seriously. It might just be a misunderstanding, but it needs to be resolved. Always make sure you know, understand, and adhere to all dealership policies on harassment. We want this to remain a positive, comfortable workplace for everyone. There's no place for harassment in this dealership, ever.
Oh man, I just found the neatest website. You won't believe this thing. I'll show it to you when you're done here.
Oh, I'm just finishing my lunch here.
At a glance, this conversation seems innocent enough, but there is a problem here.
So what's this website that's so hot?
Web roulette. I just won $200 right before I broke for lunch.
$200 just now?
10 minutes ago, baby, without ever leaving my desk. 200 big ones.
I thought that was against the rules.
It's an offshore account. The government can't touch them.
No, I meant accessing gambling from your desktop.
I had some downtime. What am I supposed to do? Sit there and twiddle my thumbs?
You got a lot of guts. I mean, you're online gambling, and I don't even check my personal email from here.
Lighten up, Jack. You think they really care if we use the internet for a little diversion every so often? Ooh.
I'll answer that for you, Sid. You bet they care. A typical dealership policy regarding employee use of computers may read something like this. The computers, computer systems, software, equipment, email systems, and internet access facilities are the property of this dealership and are provided to employees to be used for business purposes. Email messages and other information contained in the system also belong to the dealership. For their own protection, dealerships, like many other businesses today, must establish a strong set of policies that restrict the use of computer systems and software. Dealerships vary in their policies about computer use, but the following are examples of some of the uses that might be prohibited. Conducting illegal activities, accessing, downloading, posting, copying, forwarding, or distributing material that might be considered racially, culturally, or sexually sensitive or explicit. Solicitations or advertisements for commercial ventures, religious or political causes, outside organizations, or other non-dealership purposes. Gambling, SID. Playing computer games. Uploading or downloading text, program code, or data in violation of its copyright or licensing agreement. Sending defamatory or threatening messages. And revealing or publicizing proprietary or confidential information. Once again, that's just a sample list of prohibitions you might be subject to. Know the computer usage policies that affect you and make sure you aren't in violation of any of them. Sid's wrong. They do care. Care enough, in fact, that you may be subject to disciplinary action or even termination if you violate the rules. Privacy has become an increasingly sensitive issue in this country, and the security of consumer and customer information is required by federal law. Additional restrictions also may be imposed by your state and locality. The governing federal regulations in these areas are generally known as the FTC Privacy Rule and the FTC Safeguards Rule. The Privacy Rule deals with how we share information about consumers who obtain or apply for credit or lease products from us. The Safeguards Rule deals with how we protect information about our finance and lease customers, regardless of whether we sell the obligation to a third-party finance company or lessor. With the advent of the Internet and numerous data management tools, and the ease with which information can be transferred, accessed, and altered, there's more reason than ever to be concerned about the threats of identity theft, document tampering, and other misuse, compromise, or misappropriation of customer data. The effects can be devastating to a consumer, and it can take years to undo the damage an identity thief can cause. From our perspective as a dealership, there's also the potential liability arising out of customer information getting into the wrong hands. So while the Safeguards Rule applies specifically to the personal information of our finance and lease customers, the protection it affords may be just as relevant to all of our customer data, including sales, service, and parts data. If your job requires that you do have contact with the consumer's or customer's information, then you need to thoroughly understand your responsibilities in those circumstances. You notice that I use both the terms consumer and customer. That's because, for purposes of the Privacy Rule and Safeguards Rule, there's a difference. A consumer is an individual who initiates the process of obtaining a financial product or service to be used for personal, family, or household purposes from the dealership. So, a person applying for credit to buy a family car is a consumer, whether the credit is extended or not. A person becomes a customer when we execute a credit or lease deal, primarily for personal, family, or household purposes with the individual. As you can see, whether you're dealing with a consumer in our store or a customer, you have a responsibility to assure the privacy of the information you have access to or may come across in the course of doing your job.
Okay, Stacy. Now, before I send your credit application to the finance company, I'm going to need you to review and sign several pieces of paperwork permitting me to provide them your information.
It's okay with me, but it seems like a lot of paper.
I know, but it's important that I have specific written authorization to provide your private information to the bank, or in your case, the finance company.
I guess that's good. Sure. So what is it you need me to read?
Okay, well, first we'll start with this.
That's just one example of ensuring that we're processing a transaction that's been requested by the consumer. The privacy rule permits disclosures that are made for this purpose, and it is important that we adequately document the consumer's request. Let's look at another situation that indicates the kind of responsibility you have to safeguard the privacy of your customer's information.
Lisa, we're going to give Barbara a gift.
Oh, I'll be right there. Just let me clear this application information off my desk.
Just leave it. You'll be right back. Come on, everybody's already ready to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know where Lisa is. Tell you what, why don't you have a seat for a moment and I'll go find her for you.
This scenario is a classic example of what appears to be a moment of thoughtlessness turning into a violation of the safeguards rule. Lisa has exposed information we're required to treat with confidentiality. It's bad enough that Lisa abandoned her responsibilities to the customer when she left her office with Gabe, with another customer's personal information in clear view. But the situation is compounded when Kenny leaves his customer alone in the F&I office. This whole problem could have been avoided if Lisa had changed just one thing.
I'll be there after I put this paperwork away. You go on, I'll catch up.
Okay. I'm going to let them know you're coming.
Great.
All right.
That's it. That's simple. Never expose confidential information, even inadvertently, to anyone not authorized to see it. And that policy includes information on your computer. Customer information should be password protected, and disclosure of the password should be prohibited. Only persons with a legitimate business purpose should have access to it. The system should also be protected by a firewall and antivirus software. You're accountable for the confidentiality of consumer or customer information, whether your job involves handling it or you come across it accidentally. It's important to protect your customer and your dealership, and it's the law. Substance abuse devastates lives and families. It can be job-threatening for employees and a crisis point for the dealerships they work in. Whether it's a serious addiction, an occasional use, or drinking at lunch, it all comes down to the same thing. It can't be tolerated here. Violations of substance abuse policies expose employees to worksite injuries, and they can affect the quality of the work performed on the vehicles in our store, putting our customers at risk. Beyond the safety issues, a substance abuser can create an environment where your ability to perform your job well is hindered. That can affect your opportunities to succeed and our customers' attitude about doing business with us. We all have to work together to stop it as soon as we're aware of it.
I don't believe this. Why don't they make these wrenches so that they fit?
Hey, is everything all right, Kev?
Yeah, I just need a break.
Is there anything I can do to help you out over there?
No, I just need a minute. I'll be right back.
All right.
Cal, I'm worried about him. He hasn't really been himself lately.
Well, he's just going through a tough time, maybe. Divorce and all that.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's kind of busy in here. Let's step outside for a minute.
All right.
I understand about the divorce and all, but I think it's more than that. He seemed to be drinking a lot more even before the divorce.
Hey, look, maybe you're right, but he's a party guy, and he parties pretty hard sometimes.
I think it might be carrying over to work. You know, this is the second time we've had Mr. Wallace's car in here this week for the same thing, and it's happened before. Someone has to say something before this.
I mentioned his drinking once, like people were noticing, but you know, he just acted like he didn't know what I was talking about.
That's why I think it's time that this be brought up to Bob.
Oh, come on, go to the boss.
Cal, Kevin needs help. You know, if some customer has an accident because Kevin's work's not right, and they find out he was drinking.
Yeah, but come on, do you really think it's gotten this bad?
I sure do. I don't know how to get through to him. Do you?
No. Hey, you know, but he really likes you. Maybe you could just talk to him.
And I like him. That's why I think it's time that we put this in the hands of someone with more experience and leverage than us.
Yeah, I just hate to do this to him.
We're not doing it to him. We're doing it for him. Cal, it's time.
Maybe you're right. But how do we do this so he really gets a chance to fix it?
A difficult but absolutely necessary decision. Cal and Barb have to report the situation to their supervisor. It's the only way to guarantee a safe and productive workplace for everyone. And it may be the best way to help a substance abuser get the help he or she needs to beat the problem. The dealership may even have an internal support program or may be able to guide the abuser to outside resources. Wherever you work in this dealership, whatever your job, you have a responsibility to adhere to its substance abuse policies yourself and to help ensure that others do too. Lives may depend on it. There was a time when discussions about safety revolved mostly around issues like keeping the shop floor free of oil. And security meant making sure the last person out locked all the doors. But as we all know all too well, times have changed. Today, safety and security still addresses keeping the shop floor oil-free and the doors locked at night, but now it also includes issues such as hazardous material spills, medical emergencies, bomb threats, and workplace violence, among others. Most dealerships have developed an emergency response plan and provide emergency response training or procedures to follow in the event of a crisis situation. It would be nice to think that you're never going to be in a situation that requires you to implement the dealership's procedures, but you never can tell when events will change that.
Hey, Jackie, anybody belong to these cookies?
Thought you were giving up the sweets, Fred.
Yeah, I did, but I'm back.
You and my husband and your sweet tooth. Fred!
Jackie, what's going on?
I don't know. I was just standing here and he suddenly collapsed.
I'll call 911.
Oh, hurry.
For most emergency situations, there are specific procedures you should always follow. In this situation, the policy instructed employees to call 911, not to move the sick or injured person, and to determine whatever information they could from the person until someone with emergency training arrived on the scene. Your dealership's policy might name a specific emergency response coordinator, like the switchboard operator, who needs to be the first and central contact person for all emergencies. And all employees should know who that person is. The policies for emergency response are explicit and involve steps that are based on predetermined strategies developed by experts. For instance, if you are the recipient